Yeah.
Alan, can you hear us tonight?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Because I would have had to tie it.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
We can, thank you.
Okay.
Alan, can you hear us tonight?
I can hear you. Yes. Wait, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
I can't see him though.
Oh, there you
I
are.
was gonna say my video's on.
I see
Yeah.
you. Hi, Alan.
We're all good.
You're
Hi,
just
guys.
top of the screen.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand how that's I don't know what I did on this end to do that.
I think we do it on our end.
Okay, good.
We can still see you. We'll be
Nope.
starting in just a few minutes. I'm waiting for the high sign from the boss. Okay. Well, tonight is a little different night. We're going to start this evening with oath of office. For the mayor, I am your elected mayor. I am Nancy Bell, for those of you who don't know me. And then we have 3 counselors that are present that will be sworn in tonight too. And so our city recorder will do that honor for us. So we'll do that. And then after that, I'll be giving a brief state of the city, not the state of the union, but just the state of the city. And then there will be a few refreshments for you. And I think they're on the back table. And we'll take a brief break and then we'll start our regular council meeting. So, Sammy, you tell me when you're ready to start and we will do that. You like me?
We can, you can say right there. I heard it right here.
Okay.
I will raise your right hand, please. I, Nancy Bell, do solemnly affirm that I will support.
I, Nancy Bell, do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States and the state of Oregon and of the charter, ordinances, and rules of procedures for the city of Coburg, and that I will faithfully and honorably perform the duties of mayor. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay.
So do you guys want to join me over here? Counselors are next. We have 3 elected counselors.
This is exciting to have 3. Just
Yeah, he's
at
getting
one
comfy.
time.
Hey.
Yeah.
So we'll read it bit by bit. And then, does that work for you, Jay, or do you guys want to read it like the mayor did? What works the best for you?
I would prefer read and repeat so I don't screw it up.
Great. We will do it that way then. Thank you. So I state your name.
I, Jameson Bellman,
Do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution
do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution
and the laws of the United States and the state of Oregon,
and the laws of the United States and the state of Oregon,
and of the charter, ordinances, and rules for the city of Coburg.
and of the charter, rules, procedures for the city of Coburg,
And that I will faithfully and honorably perform
and that I will faithfully and honorably perform
the The duties of city councillor for the city of Coburg.
the duties of city councillor for the city of Coburg.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, well, thank you, and we will get your staff. Shake hands up and that.
Yes,
Yes,
thank you.
yes.
Thank you, and thanks for coming back.
You're welcome. You can give me a wine. This is home.
This is, yes, it is. And the longer we're here, the more it feels like home.
Well, Coburg has always felt like home.
Yeah. Good. Well, at this time, I will go ahead and give the state of the city for Coburg of 2025. I can't believe it. I was thinking back and thinking 25 years ago, we didn't know if the planes were going to fall out of the sky or the machines were all going to stop working or the computers were going to die. I was working in healthcare at that time and we had 24-hour, we were prepared for emergencies and it just, nothing happened. It just went on without a blip, which was marvelous. And that's sort of what this city does too. I do first of all want to thank you for joining me tonight and also for re-electing me as your mayor. I do not take that lightly. It is an honor and a privilege, and it's something that I always strive to put the needs of Coburg and its citizens before anything else. So I do thank you. And I want to thank the many dedicated volunteers, community members, as well as the hardworking, community-oriented staff and the engaged council members here in Coburg. This is a vibrant and resilient community because of everyone working together. We may not always agree with everything, and that's okay, but we treat each other respectfully and we move on and make sure that the job gets done. 2024 was a year of uncertainty and upheaval and change, both nationally and globally. And we here in Coburg were not immune. But again, we pulled together and we moved forward. With the arrival of 2025, it's time to reflect on the accomplishments of 2024, and that's what I'm here to do tonight, and anticipate the challenges ahead, and also to review plans that we have to deal with those. I hope you find this overview helpful. It won't be a 2 or 3 hour speech. I hate to, if any of you were planning on that, that's not what's going to happen. It'll be fairly brief and I'll just give the overview. So first of all, let me talk about the accomplishments. We survived the ice storm of 2024, and that was pretty amazing. That has come up, I'm pretty sure, on a lot of our memories and a lot of our social media. Ooh, this time last year was really bad. And we learned lessons in that storm. Our staff was able to work with FEMA to secure reimbursement funds for some of the damages to the city infrastructure and our emergency responses. And we have implemented plans and programs to improve our responses to future emergencies. We never know what's coming. We know there's going to be something that happens. And so we think we're better prepared for that. Coburg has been proactive in maintaining clean drinking water to meet the needs of our community. I always feel a little silly in saying that in Oregon. Don't we have plenty of water? Well, no, none of us have plenty of water at this point, not the drinkable kind. This being proactive has kept us from experiencing some of the problems that are rampant in towns fairly close to us. The city's third supply well will be online and connected to the city's distribution system this year, and this will increase our clean water capacity for current and future needs. Our transportation utility fee, also known as the TUF by many of you, along with state, local gas taxes, provides funding to maintain and improve and rebuild our streets and public right-of-ways. We were able to do the reconstruction on North Willamette, Macy, Harrison streets because we had put aside money for that, but also we got a grant for a third of the project cost, and a third of the project cost was $250,000. It takes a lot of money to redo streets, but by redoing those streets, we were able to add sidewalks and to improve parking and stormwater management. We also, in 2024, established the Ad Hoc Transportation Committee, and this was made up of citizens, staff, planning commissioners, and council members, and was established to address traffic concerns and possible short-term solutions. This team worked diligently to identify solutions to share with Lane County Transportation, because remember, our main streets through town are not our main streets. They are owned by the county and managed by the county. So anything that we do on those streets has to be approved by the county. And that can be frustrating at times, but we've established a good working relationship with Lane County Transportation. And so they do listen to us, but we felt like it was important to sort of pull things together and gather things and present a cohesive package rather than one at a time. So the discussions are ongoing with our county partners. Well, there have been some changes already. I think I've seen a speed sign going out of town moved, and so we have some good things coming. We also finished our Public Works operation building. And this building provides storage for vehicles, inventory, and equipment, and which will extend the life of this equipment and also allows our public works staff to work more efficiently. Prior to that building, we really didn't have any place to get all of the equipment out of the weather. And so this has been a long-term dream for many of us to be able to protect that equipment and extend its life. This was funded with 100% local shared utility funds from water, sewer, and street utility, and with no ongoing debt payments. And that's huge. Public safety and open space continue to be a high priority for citizens of Coburg. And so we have invested in a well-trained professional police department and public works team who are actively engaged in the community. Police and public works staff are present at community events and work with both youth and citizens to promote safety. I had the opportunity over the last couple of years to work with the 8th graders from Coburg Charter School, and they are such fun, but they come, what is it, one Friday for the whole month of October. And they had some great ideas. They loved working with the police, and they really love working with public works because they get to do things. And if you know 8th graders, you know they like to do things. So our parks, you've probably noticed that Pavilion Park is under construction and that we also have a new restroom there, which we were very excited to be able to do. The goal for the completion of the park will be by the end of May, so that it'll be available for the summer event season. There's also extensive maintenance was done in Johnny Diamond Park, and work was put into all of our parks to keep them the envy of many communities nearby, or not even maybe so nearby. The trees are kept trimmed, and sometimes, unfortunately, they have to be removed because trees, like everything else, kind of have a lifespan. But many trees are planted to maintain the beauty of this city. We also were able to purchase and operate a street sweeper, which helps keep our streets free of debris, or at least with decreased debris. Sometimes it's pretty hard to have it free. The Coburg Loop Path Phase 4, which is a loop that will run from Sarah Lane to Trails End Park, the wetlands, also known as. This will create, that's in the planning stages, and that will create a safer biking and walking experience and makes this hidden treasure more accessible to the community. So we're excited for that. We're very fortunate in Coburg to have a trail system. And I spend a lot of time now trotting around on those, and I bet a lot of you do too. Public safety continues to be, again, a high priority, and we have a police department that continues to provide high quality community policing with extensive collaboration with regional public safety partners, such as Oregon State Police, Lane County Sheriff, and the Eugene and Springfield Police Departments. Our Coburg officers support the ODOT truck inspection program, and that keeps them pretty busy. And they also provide traffic reinforcement on a contract basis to the community of Harrisburg. So if you ever see Coburg Police in Harrisburg, there's a reason. Harrisburg loves our police department too, and they pay for the privilege of having them there because they do not have their own police department. Police have also gotten grants that have funded programs for pedestrian safety and driving under the influence and other targeted community safety programs, in addition to their stellar work on both local and transient freeway-related enforcement for the Coburg community. Having the freeway so close is a mixed blessing. It is wonderful when we need to get someplace. It also brings a lot of activity into our small town. Most of us are not even aware of, but our police, and thank you, Chief, for being here. Our police keep us very, very safe. In terms of economic development, our Main Street organization, and Counselor Smith is on our Main Street group, that has been formed to support commerce and preserve our history and celebrate art. So the art that you see around town has all come through our Main Street program. It's also Main Street that provides for our festivals, our concerts, our antique fair, our markets, our bazaars, our fun run, our Christmas parade, as well as being a liaison with community and business members. We have new art installations and new businesses in both the Central Business District and the Industrial Park, and these keep Coburg alive and vibrant. We have formal agreements now, or a formal agreement between the city and Main Street organization to ensure continuity, stability, and almost unlimited future possibilities. I skipped a page here. We're getting excited. The Coburg Creek subdivision has been almost fully developed at this time to support the mandates and the demand for housing in our area. While growth is controversial, the fact is that we must manage growth effectively to maintain the services we expect and to remain in compliance with state mandates. We are fortunate to have a group of dedicated, well-trained, and stable city staff that keep Coburg running smoothly. And with a deep enough bench to maintain core services during the inevitable staff transitions. And we've had a few of those in recent months, but they are inevitable. We do expect that will happen. Part of what happens is that Coburg is a great training ground, and so people develop skills sometimes here that allow them to move into other positions. And we applaud that, though it's hard to let them go. Through combined efforts, financial tracking and reporting have improved. Online utility billing options have been implemented, And we have come up with methods to track, prioritize capital improvement projects. So the challenges for next year will be increased water scarcity. We all know that that's an issue around the region and the world. And the need to provide clean water on demand to all of our customers. We see continuing increase of through traffic, both domestic and freight. We have here in the city, as well as we do at home, increasing costs for materials and services for general operations, which create budgeting uncertainty. And we have the need to evaluate revenues, and the ability to maintain service levels is difficult. We have increased competition for federal and state and private funding. I've heard a lot, well, just go out there and get some grants. Well, that would be great, but everybody else is out there doing the same thing. We have limited buildable land for housing. And we have decreasing fund balances to meet future needs and to respond to equipment failures and emergencies. We have aging infrastructure here in Coburg. We acknowledge that, and we worked really hard, particularly with Public Works Department, to evaluate and decide when we need to work on replacing things. So our plans for the future include building those fund balances to improve our resiliency and the ability to maintain our infrastructure and services. We will be monitoring and evaluating current debt service and restructuring or refinancing as opportunities arrive. We'll be continuously refining, improving our accounting processes and policies to make them more transparent and to provide departments and committees, city councilors, and you as citizens with access and understandable financial statements. We are utilizing finance software and other technology to achieve higher efficiency and accuracy. Sometimes technology is our friend. So thank you again for coming. That's all I really have to say. But sharing your evening with us, I've tried to summarize the issues that seem to be most important to this community: traffic, public safety, water, and finances. I think that probably hits everything for each of us. And some of these are out of our control, but we have and will continue to minimize the impact on Coburg through creativity and good stewardship. These are challenging times, but the people of Coburg continue to make Coburg great and an inviting and livable place to live. Thank you. That's it for me. There is coffee and cookies on the back counter, so please help yourself to those. We'll be taking a short break, and then we'll resume our regular council meeting for those of you who would like to stay for that.
I think I'll stay out here for a bit. I know it's nice, and Mayor Bell gave um, her talk, and I think it's going to be a Here.
Okay. I will call the meeting to order at 6:43. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Shouldn't scoot it in. Oopsie.
Counselor Myers, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes. Allegiance
Pledge
to the
allegiance to the
flag
flag of the
the
United States of America
and
and to the republic for which it stands,
stands
one
one
nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sammy, can you do roll call, please?
Yes, Mayor Bell,
Present?
Counselor Bowman,
Present.
Counselor Engelbretson, Counselor Lehman, Counselor Myers,
Present.
Counselor Smith,
Present.
Counselor Wells.
here,
We do have a quorum.
Fantastic, thank you. Our first order of business will be selection or election of a council president for the 25-26 year. So I will, at this point, accept nominations for city council president.
I would like to nominate Kathy Engelbretson for city council president.
I will second it.
Are there any other nominations? If not, I will accept a vote and I'll do that by show of hands, please. All those for Counselor Engelbretson, please raise your hand. 2, 3, 4. Counselor Engelbretson will be our council president for the next year. Thank you. Next 2 years, actually, isn't it?
It is.
And agenda review, Sammy?
Yep, I'll take that one. Just a quick note, no changes to the agenda order or anything. There are 2 items, 2 documents that Sam and I passed out for council. One is a draft council rules document and the other is a city administration report. And we'll hit on both of those later in the agenda. Just want to make sure you have them and we will email them out to everyone after the meeting tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
A question, are the council rules different or congruous to the rules of governance?
They're the same. Yeah, the interchangeable terminology.
All right.
Yes. Yep, thank you.
Is there anyone signed up for public comment?
None.
And we now have the consent agenda. Counselors may remove an item from the consent agenda for discussion by requesting that action prior to consideration. We have minutes for the December 10th city council meeting. Does any counselor wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? If not, entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as is.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion by Counselor Bauman.
I'll second.
And a second by Counselor Smith to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Or.
Oh, I forgot, sorry, came quick. Sorry.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes 4-0. Now we'll move on to the ordinances, resolutions, and contracts. The first item of business is the first reading for ordinance A-163-V, an ordinance adopting the Oregon Criminal Code, Oregon Uniform Controlled Substance Act, Oregon Liquor Control Act, and the Oregon Motor Vehicle Code, repealing ordinance A-163-U. I will open the public hearing at 6:48 and hold the first reading of said ordinance adopting the Oregon Criminal Code, the Oregon Uniform Controlled Substances Act, the Oregon Liquor Control Act, and the Oregon Motor Vehicle Code, repealing ordinance A-163-U. Chief Larson, there you are. I lost you for a minute. Would you like to fill us in on what this is?
I'll start with a little administrative piece of it and then turn it over to the chief for the details.
Mr. Henry.
Just to let council know, this is an ordinance that has historically happened annually to ensure that the Oregon revised statutes are then adopted locally, so they become enforceable efficiently through our municipal court. And before turning it over to the chief, we did attempt to see if we could alter the ordinance language to not require it to be done every year, to word it such that it always adopted the most recent state laws. And both our LCOG and another attorney that we use advised that that creates, it can be done, but it creates a little bit of legal loophole potential. So we at both of their advice chose to just stay the course, and just you'll see this come every year. It's the most solid way for us to close all those loops and just adopt it via ordinance every year. So we did try to see if we could streamline ourselves a little bit and cover it, but this is the best approach. So with that, I'll turn it over to Chief.
So what this does is it adopts the criminal code, the Substance Control Act, and the Liquor Control Act, Motor Vehicle Code. So it allows the Coburg Police Department to cite and arrest into the Coburg Municipal Court. If we didn't adopt the ordinance, then all of our crimes and citations would have to go to Lane County Circuit Court. And it's an annual requirement. So this is just one of a series that we've done before.
Keeps us in line with Oregon.
It does.
Okay. All right. Does council have any questions for staff? Is there any written testimony, or do we have anyone signed up to speak?
No.
If there is no further testimony or questions, I will close the public hearing at 6:51. And at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve ordinance A-163-V to a second reading. Actually, I said approve, I meant move.
I move to approve the first reading of ordinance A-163-V, an ordinance adopting the Oregon Criminal Code, Uniform Controlled Substance Act, Liquor Control Act, and Motor Vehicle Code, and repealing ordinance A-163-U, and move the ordinance to second reading at the next regularly scheduled council meeting.
I second.
We have a motion by Counselor Smith and a second by Counselor Bauman to move ordinance A-163-V to a second reading scheduled February 11th, 2025 as presented. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Counselor Wells, did I hear an aye?
Yes, you did.
Okay, thank you. So, and any opposed? Better not? Okay, then the motion passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next order of business is Resolution 2025-01, a resolution adjusting rates of water, wastewater, transportation, and park system development fees. Mr. Hanks, are you?
Yep, I'll take a stab at this one and Megan can assist if you stump me. Which I hope not. This is a pretty administrative function as well. This is the first of the year stuff. This system development charges are fees that we collect for parks, water, wastewater, and transportation on new development. So permits that create new units, new commercial space, pay systems development charges. Our methodology in the ordinance calls for a review annually of the SDCs and an option that requires a resolution of formal action of council. Again, we couldn't just administratively do this one. It has to come up every year for council since it's a rate increase to apply a construction cost index to our methodology. And the purpose really is for it to keep pace. For the methodology is designed to collect revenue that is then used for capital infrastructure. And the goal with the cost adjustment or cost indexing is to ensure that over time, the revenues collected generally keep up with the cost of the construction projects, and the index that is called out and utilized in our methodology and is reflected here is the ENR, which is the Engineering News Record, a pretty common construction index. You know, we use a CPI, Consumer Price Index, for more employment style and salary indexing, but a construction index, because this is for capital funds, is the appropriate index. And for reference, noted in the council staff report, it's 0.9%, so just a little bit shy of 1%. And the prior year was 2.5%. The year before that, I believe, was 5.7%. So as we've talked when we're talking capital improvements and the bid awards and the high construction costs that we've experienced, it's a good sign that 0.9 is the index that we're seeing here, because it obviously means not as much SDC revenue, but what it also indicates is that we're hopefully seeing a little flattening of the capital project construction cost out in the marketplace. So that is a good thing. And as we do finish our water projects and get those bid out in the spring and summer, we hope to see that reflected in our bid prices. So this is a resolution then that just simply multiplies 0.9% by the prior year's SDC the rate structure.
Thank you. Does council have any questions for staff? Either Mr. Hanks or Ms. Winter? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve resolution 2025-01, a resolution adjusting the rates of the water, wastewater, transportation, and park system development charges.
I will second.
We have a motion by Counselor Myers and a second by Counselor Bowman to approve resolution 2025-01A, a resolution accepting
Okay.
resolution accepting the existing system development charges by the construction cost index as specified in the SDC ordinance. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes 4-0. And now moving on to resolution 2025-03, a resolution adopting the Coburg Council Rules of Government. And this is a staff report and information only. It will come back to us in February for approval.
Yeah, this item, and it is the kind of where we're using some of the words interchangeably, as Councilor Bowman mentioned. They're kind of shorthand. They're the council rules. They are the rules of governance. The charter lays out kind of the upper umbrella of the powers and powers, duties, operations of the city, and then it references in the charter that actual operating rules shall be adopted via resolution. So there more of the details come into this document. So in the that's one of the two handouts that we provided at the start of the meeting. We thought we've been working on and kind of poking around and looking at other cities and kind of a combined project, mostly city recorder. Sammy's been doing the heavy lifting on the work. It's daunting, actually. It's simple, but it's actually, you get into the weeds really quick about a bunch of scenario planning. Okay, if the presiding officer isn't the mayor, then who is it? How does this work? What does it safeguard against? And when everything is operating smoothly, council rules aren't super important. When councils end up maybe in some disagreement or confusion about process or a debate about what's the right way to do things, these become really important because it just puts everybody on the same playing field. You understand, how to function as a group and what the protocols are. So I think it worked out really well that we did a bunch of work. We've added more, and the kind of the challenge on our end, on the staff side, is how far to go. Because I've been a part of some council rule development that ended up being a booklet. We actually literally made a rules booklet out of it. I don't think we want to go that far. But I think it's a good opportunity right now to provide you that draft document. There's some text highlighted that indicates more clarifying language to come when we bring it back in February. Just so you know that that's a marker for some content, and wording it is going to be our best attempt. But really, it's also great for you all to have this document, do some reading on your own, thinking through some scenarios, and come back to us with what you think the language should be. And really feel free on being liberal with language, because the way the language is written really needs to reflect how you all want to function, more so than how we think you all want to function. I mean, we can provide some of the structure of the actual legal structure that isn't really malleable, but there's a lot that, at least the tone and there's a fair amount in it that is malleable by the governing body yourselves. So feel free to individually send some stuff to Sammy. Probably that's the best, is have Sammy coordinate individual comments back, and then we'll try and have a more refined draft at the February meeting that incorporates individual comments and refines some of the stuff that we have some other examples of that we didn't form into a complete document yet. So it's been on the docket here for a bit. This is the council rules haven't been adopted or updated since the new charter. So there are some that are really pretty kind of core structural things that the change in charter in 22 altered, that just need to be cleaned up and reflected here. And then there's a lot more that's a little subjective about how far we want to go. And we could talk about, we want to go further later. We can stop at a certain point and say, hey, let's add these for next year. If we want to talk social media policies and those kind of things that are kind of and we can talk about where they land. Do they live in council rules? Do they live outside of that? In a separate policy document? All of that is somewhat open-ended, because different cities do things quite differently on this topic.
Just a question, so we all know what we're in for. How heavy is the legalese? or is it pretty much regular English?
It's pretty much, the goal is to be pretty much regular English.
Oh, good.
Yeah, there has to be, there's a little bit of probably more legal detail than would normally be, in conversation, but not full legalese language as much as possible. There is a little bit of Robert's Rules of Order sprinkled in there, but yeah, the goal is to.
That's fine, I
Yeah.
have the book.
Yeah, the goal is to be usable, that, and sometimes too much legalese makes it hard for it to be valuable and usable. So we try to avoid the full legalese.
So if we have questions or comments, just to reiterate, we need to go through this. Questions or comments need to go back to Sammy. And she'll collect those, and then we can discuss them in detail at the February meeting.
Yeah, and we'll assemble the ones that, that have some sort of consensus that we see. If there's individual things that are kind of outliers, we'll put them in the staff report probably, but maybe not automatically insert them. I don't foresee that. I think it'll be pretty clear and consistent, I would bet. And we hopefully captured the majority of it.
We also have a retreat and a work session between now and
Yeah,
then.
sure.
And I think Adam had mentioned maybe
Yeah.
putting a minute on those to touch on any items that may come up.
Yeah, great point. Yep, there'll be some other opportunities for us to chat as a group.
Well, I'm sure there's been a lot of work that has gone into that. It's never easy to refine these things. It looks like it should be, but when you start getting into it, never is.
Nope.
Never is. Okay, well, thank you. So we won't vote on that tonight. We'll just make sure that we get questions and comments back. And then we'll take a look at that again, work session, retreat, and move forward. Okay, we next have the employee policy manual. So this is resolution 2021-4. A resolution adopting the City of Coburg 2025 employee policy manual. Again, it always looks really easy. It seems like it ought to be really easy to clean these things up to make them have more sense. This is not a complete overhaul of the manual. I want to put that right out there. That is to come, but we have hit key changes only in this one. So, Mr. Hanks, are you going to talk about that with us?
Yeah, I put our kind of combined HR team on the staff context for the staff report. Sammy, Greg, and I do a lot of huddling on and have components of some of the HR work that we all do. So, and the full leadership team has looked at this as well, because it does also impact supervisory and how people are paid and how we record time and all that stuff. So as the mayor said, this one isn't a complete overhaul, and it didn't need a complete overhaul. It always can have an overhaul. It doesn't always need an overhaul. So again, like the council rules, it's where do you decide to stop and say, okay, that's good for this year. And I would foresee this coming back again, next year. We have some things that drive it that can only occur operationally if they're in the handbook, and two brought it to attention for tonight's agenda. And I did list in the staff report kind of the there's 4 bullets or 5 bullets of kind of the key changes, and 2 of them have some financial or service level implications. So the primary thing that drives this one is through the last year's budget process, as part of the salary and compensation discussion, council, budget committee and council did approve the CPI salary schedule adjustment, and additionally, one benefit of a employer match to an employee's deferred compensation of up to $50 a month. So $600 a year per employee maximum. And as those of you that have done those kind of things, those are less expensive to a city from a budget perspective than salary. Salary gets roll up of the PERS costs and roll up of it ends up rolling up. And so this is an enhancement to the benefit package that was approved by council to be effective January 1, acknowledging that the the policy language would need to come into the handbook because it didn't exist prior. So that's in the handbook now. Holidays was the second bullet. Proposing the addition of the Juneteenth holiday, June 19th each year. That is a federal and state recognized holiday and was not on our list of holidays. And similarly, in order to have a recognized holiday, that has to be approved by council via resolution. So that is included here. We just had some language changes that better connected the merit pay section, some alterations of that ties that to our salary schedule and for kind of administrative and performance review benefit. No change financially on that one. It just more smoothly connects the timing and the flow of that. There's some changes to the performance dialogue, which again relates to the merit pay and the performance review processes that we utilize. And we also made the sick leave and bereavement leave more match best practice and standard from CIS is who we use as our benchmark for all of our employee handbook work. And we just had some language that what types of sick leave are authorized and bereavement, what categories of family member relationships qualify for bereavement, pretty standard stuff. And then we did propose the on-call duty response time change from 20 minutes to 30 minutes. There can be some real recruitment challenges with saying, our on-call folks, which is, Public Works primarily, but there is a response time from a PD perspective as well. So that's, 11 of our 17 people. So that's really can be hard to mandate and have people live within that distance. We debated, miles versus minutes, that's all fine tooth comb stuff, but landed on just expanding slightly the response time. And operationally, some of the on-call response time stuff is really handled by technology now as well. All of our SCADA for Public Works, they can do a lot of on-call stuff without coming in. True ice storm, as you mentioned in the state of the city, there are some response times. And of course, that isn't always possible. I couldn't get here 30 minutes or almost 30 hours. I couldn't get here.
I could barely get here.
Yeah, living down the street, 30 minutes could be a challenge in those conditions. So those are some of the changes. And as the mayor said, we'll be looking at them every year. And it's likely that, every year around this time, we'll be bringing, changes to the handbook, which I think is just good business for us.
Did you need some water?
Yeah.
Oh, you bet.
Thanks.
Good job. And I want to remind counselors that last year we did discuss Juneteenth as recognizing that as a holiday. Did not at that time because it was still sort of being phased in. But at this point in time, it has become an accepted holiday across the state and across most of the nation. So that's why we're bringing it back to you again this year.
Thanks.
So are there any questions for staff on the employee handbook?
I guess I'll just add that we gave you two versions of the document, one with track changes and one clean. I don't know which one's better to read, but at least it lets you know what the language was and what it is, if that's helpful. So any questions you might have about prior language and proposed language.
Well, I can say, having read the entire thing over the course of an evening, you were very thorough.
Well, they say you don't want to mess up employees' compensation or benefits. And so it is important to have an accurate employee policy manual. It also can save, if there are questions, if you can come back to what really should be happening.
And there are routine changes at the state and federal level that it impact us on, Oregon, the paid sick leave can impact how we word things and, trying to make sure that when we do deviate from standard, we have a good reason that we're deviating from the standard. Otherwise, we want to reference, a state or federal and not mess with it unless we have a real good reason to alter it for our own local use. So, and those change. Whistleblower stuff has changed over time. There's a lot of different categories in HR that just is constantly changing. In fact, several of the staff are going to the CIS annual conference in mid-February, just to keep up on all that stuff. So there's a lot besides kind of our localized compensation. Kind of that's usually the focus of these handbooks is that stuff. But there's a lot of layers beyond that are really important to protect both the employer and employee and keep the organization legal.
Just a housekeeping issue on page 41 for payroll policies. It says employees are paid bi-weekly. I assume that's supposed to be bi-monthly.
It's always an interesting one. Yeah.
Is it? Or is that
I don't know.
twice
I
a,
went,
two times a?
That might be a debatable one.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I
yeah.
just looked at that. Is it paid bi-weekly or bi-monthly? Twice a month or twice a week?
We could just put 26 pay periods. That'd be the other.
Yeah. Does say.
I think it,
there
yeah.
are 26
Yeah.
pay periods in the
Right.
calendar year.
We will,
Varies the second.
we will double check that and make sure it's the right way, and we'll count that as a scrivener's error if we don't need to bring it back.
That always confuses me.
It is confusing.
Get those
Mhm.
by.
Yep.
Okay. Page 41, or it's 41 in the packet, 13 in the handbook.
Yeah. Yes, we have.
And it
those.
does clarify the 26 pay
Yeah,
period.
it does.
It's just my interpretation.
Yeah.
I always think those are confusing. So thank you for pointing that out.
Yes, because bi can mean twice weekly or every other.
Every other
Mhm,
week.
mhm.
And I think it's probable that we're both right. That it is right both ways. Yeah.
Count it that
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
They don't know. Okay, are there any other questions? If not, I will obtain a motion.
I move to approve the resolution 2025-04. Resolution adopting City of Coburg 2025 Employee Policy Manual.
We have a motion by Counselor Myers. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Counselor Smith. To approve resolution 2025-04 as we'll figure out is it bi-weekly or bi-monthly? We'll work that one
I
through.
guess if
But
staff
we know it's,
understands it, I don't care.
I get it. We know it's 26 pay periods a year, so we'll clarify that, clean that up as needed. All those in favor, say aye.
aye,
Any opposed? 4 in favor and none opposed, and so the amendment or the motion passes 4-0. Thank you. That again is a lot of hard work doesn't seem like it would be that hard, but it always is. And our next agenda item is the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the pre-implementation compliance measures pathway selection. And is that Mr. Hanks or Miss Winter that's going to present that?
I will start. This one has a higher likelihood of me being stumped than the SDC. So Megan needed to be up here
Anytime you're
with me.
dealing with
Yeah.
FEMA and the federal government, I'm already stumped.
Yeah.
So thank
Yeah,
you.
this one, Megan and I have spent a lot of time on this, and I think city managers and planners around the state and the state agencies have spent a ton of time. In the packet is kind of some background material on this topic. It started coming up to us, in the summer-ish, last summer. Kind of figuring out what do we need to do, if anything, does it apply to us? And as it got further along, the mandates were clear. And then so in November, there's a council memo at the very back that was presented to council in November 12th meeting to kind of give an overview of what was upon us. This is it stems from a 2009, I believe, lawsuit that really has taken forever. Subsequent lawsuits because of inaction of different entities in the lawsuit. Ultimately, there was a mandate to every jurisdiction had to make a declaration about how they were going to process development permits within on properties within the floodplain. So our plan and our recommendation that council had nodded with in November was there were three different pathways, they call it, and there's been a lot of debate about whether those pathways are actually as legal as they say they are from the federal. This is feds versus state kind of a thing that local jurisdictions are kind of pawns in to some degree. We thought the best way to go was to at the December 1st deadline was just to go to the permit by permit basis, which is one of the options, but also elect and tell them that, because that's what you just are. December 1st, you do default to the permit by permit. So when we submitted, we said, given that we by default are the permit, we'll accept that, but we're going to state on the record that we will pursue evaluation of the model ordinance. We had 7 months to be able to review whether the model ordinance approach was better than the permit by permit. We just didn't have time by the December 1st due date to kind of make that call and put it through the paces of the Planning Commission and back to council. So that's what we submitted. And after that, Megan did the heavy lifting of getting a presentation prepared for the Planning Commission and providing them with an overview of the issue. That PowerPoint is in your packet as well. And the recommendation from the Planning Commission was to not move forward with the model ordinance option, but to stay defaulted to the permit by permit basis. And that is staff's recommendation as well. It's an interesting one that, it probably has more twists and turns left to it. This probably isn't the end. It might be the end of what we have to deal with locally. It may not be the end of the regulatory process, maybe the lawsuit process. It's very speculative and a lot of, like I said, a lot of different input around the state from a lot of legal minds, legal land use people that are really, really knowledgeable about state land use law and what the federal government can do and can't do in Oregon, because Oregon has a pretty unique set of land use laws. So that's what's in front of you. There's probably an hour at least worth of random, weird, and interesting to some people details about this item. So I'll leave it at that. Megan can answer any questions about how it went through the planning process and kind of why, we can collaboratively answer why we think, the permit by permit is the way to go. I think one of the key things that we talked about the most was, what properties are impacted. And, it's fairly limited in Coburg. Other communities, coastal communities this is a much, much, bigger deal when many of their developable properties, some of them industrial and very, very big on employment lands and, in industrial lands, big implications. For us, it's really limited. We feel that the scope of this is very small in Coburg, and of the few properties that are in the floodplain area that may trigger these, most are already developed. So that really means that they wouldn't be coming forward for a development application anyway. And so it's fortunate, I think, in our case that it's pretty de minimis, the impacts, but that clearly isn't the case in many other communities around the state. It's a big, big deal. Did I hit everything or anything to add?
I think you got it.
Okay.
So which properties in Coburg would be impacted? I'm having a little difficulty reading.
There are properties on Industrial Way and Roberts Road that abut the Muddy Creek irrigation channel. Those properties are within the floodplain map that FEMA issues. There are also just a few properties on the south end of town, up Willamette near Dixon Street. There used to be a number of properties along the Abbey Austin neighborhood. Those property owners went through a process a number of years ago, and wrote a letter requesting that they be removed from the floodplain designation, which was successful. So the majority of those properties, if you are able to see on that firm map, there's
Yes.
a dark blue circle,
Right.
and that dark blue circle represents the area that was revised.
Okay. That's the way I was reading it, but I wasn't quite sure. So thank you for that clarification. That's sort of the edge of the old mill pond.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Which would have previously been more prone to flooding than
Yes.
now.
Yes. As long as we don't have a 1964 event, we're probably okay. Water. Water is always an issue, isn't it? Yes. And fire. Yeah. I guess I'll take water over fire. Recovered from the flooding. Okay, any questions for staff? If not, you need a motion?
Yep.
Okay,
Good, just to confirm.
all right. If there are no questions, I will entertain a motion. I move to select the permit by permit review basis as the city of Coburg's pre-implementation compliance measure as required by FEMA.
I second.
I have a motion by Counselor Smith and a second by Counselor Bowman to accept the permit by permit review basis as the city of Coburg's pre-implementation compliance measure as required by FEMA. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. We're moving right
Thank you.
along. Thank you. That's only just slightly confusing, isn't it, when you get the federal government and the state in opposite opinions or model ordinance would be very involved. Yes, the model ordinance would be very involved, so yeah, seems reasonable to stick with the permit by permit basis. And my thanks to our planning commission for going through that too. That's always great to have their involvement. So at this point, we have the city administrator report, and Mr. Hanks, are you going to talk us through that?
Sure, I'll run through some items. The first time, and we'll email this out, and then we also put it out on independently on the social media site, and then we have a spot on our website for it. The number one item, council retreat, that's almost a repeat from the last city administration report. Just as a reminder, the mayor and I continue to fine tune what we're going to be doing on Saturday the 1st. But just a reminder that that's it's a real it's important, and I think a really fun day to really think big picture, look at the year, look at usually more than a year, as well as some of the big picture stuff, and really just get kind of get a take on everyone's priorities and try and rank and sort and get some prioritization for our work and for the upcoming fiscal year at least, and a little bit more. And the FEMA thing that we just finished is a great example of our best laid plans. We can have our own work plans, and then those kind of things show up, and they do waylay us, and we are required to work on them. So that shows that that's the beauty or the need to really be doing work planning in an 18 to 36 month window, typically on most things. Capital the same way. Those things months can move on either side of a project or a program real quickly. So excited for the retreat and more to come on that. One thing we just wanted to call out, it's being handled. It's been a great job between our public works and police department, but because of its kind of an ongoing nature, and some of that is to be expected, but it seems to be a little bit of an increase, and something we want to address is damage in our parks restrooms, and especially as the mayor noted in the state of the city, we have a new one as well, and we don't want to start having problems with a brand new facility. So it's not uncommon to have damage. It's kind of course of doing business to provide publicly available and usable facilities. There is going to be higher level maintenance probably than anybody would expect. That's normal. When we see vandalism and kind of needless stuff, we want to brainstorm and figure out what we should do about it. So just wanted to call it to your attention. We are pursuing it, and it does happen where we pursue different levels of enforcement, to and follow up on what's happened. The biggest takeaway from this one is, and we talked about it when we put the new restroom in, is we didn't select the add-on cost for the remote door locks for that new precast unit because we wanted to have a system that was the same for both restrooms. So we didn't have two different systems. So it's, this obviously illuminated that I think it's time for, Brian and I are looking at checking in with a couple other cities about what systems they're using, what pros and cons. They're not cheap, so we want to get the right ones. That'll last us at least a decade. We have to get either cellular or Wi-Fi if we want to be able to remotely do it. So because of our staffing, we don't want to have Sundays having somebody drive in to open and close restroom facilities, which is a common kind of municipal challenge. So the automated remote access, remote control, you can set a schedule. You can alter that schedule if we have, summer events where we want to leave it open longer. We have that ability. We will have that ability. So that'll be coming your way, and we'll kind of figure out what our times will be for open and close. Close at 10, lock at 10 p.m., open at 6 a.m., open at 7. That's a pretty normal. Most cities have something like that. But just calling it out that it's something that is a constant thorn in the side of our public works staff, and Brian handles it well, adept at nipping it in the bud, working with, we do have cameras. We have that grant for one additional camera that we got last year that we haven't, we have to have that completed by the end of May. So that has been very effective. Cameras on the exterior of the building, signed real well that says there's cameras. Hopefully that's mostly a deterrent, but it also has been effective in finding out what's going on and who's doing stuff. So just wanted council to be aware. And we will run that time by the Park and Tree Committee and just kind of talk that through and make its way and let you all know how we think would be best to address that. The next item is a city website redesign. That was part of our communication engagement plan in the council framework from the last retreat. We've been making our way through some of the items, and we'll go through a more comprehensive update of what we've accomplished in the framework document when we have our retreat here in 2.5 weeks from now. But the website, Sammy and I have been kind of driving this one primarily. We've got our leadership team involved, and the leadership team will really get involved when we get to the content side. We've just now completed kind of the redesign, and that's a screenshot of the redesign there. I couldn't scroll the way they were giving us in the mock-ups. It's not a full website. It's in a development site, so we couldn't quite get the way I wanted to display it for y'all, but it has a box for highlighting projects, and it has kind of horizontal and vertical scrolls, and it shows really well, displays really well on mobile devices, which are about 60 to 70% of people accessing the site access it from mobile device rather than desktop. That's been over 8 to 10 years. It's been a complete flip. We used to design websites primarily for how they looked on various size large desktop screens, and that's really no longer the case. So these are active display software that converts and moves them around to optimize for cell phones. So these, the features, really the focus that I put in the report really is to incorporate the new logo and really prioritize the homepage based on what is most frequently accessed to make sure that the stuff that's that's most in demand by the community is most readily available. Calendar is a constant. The buttons across the circles across the front, those are changeable by us as we want to highlight different things. We have the ability to change those. They're not locked in, but that's our starter kit. So we're excited. The harder approach, this is the fun creative part. The harder one is the actual content. Updating what's on there, finding what could be retired out, what isn't on there that should be. That'll be all hands on deck to kind of work through that. So we're probably 2 or 3 months away from having a fresh total launch. And it hopefully will coincide also with our transition to .gov. We have a cybersecurity grant in collaboration with LCOG that's been moving. All cities have been moving to the .gov. You'll see that in many cities. It's a higher level of security of websites. So our emails will actually at some point switch from the ci.coburg.or.us to coburgoregon.gov. The website will go to coburgoregon.gov. So I don't know if those will all line up at the same time to kind of launch it all combined, but we have a back-end software update that was required by the vendor. And so it's just perfect timing to do all the front end work as well. So that's in the works, and we'll let you know when it's ready to pop out there live.
Good, can then remember my email address.
Yeah, that'll be a lot easier for everybody. I don't know how many times we all say that, .ci, and some people get it and some people have no idea what the OR and US even, they don't relate it to, state, and they just, what are you talking about? Yeah, it'll be a lot easier.
Can I say that I'm very glad that the website is getting overhauled because it's very buggy in its current state? But can I encourage you, please do not forget common accessibility features like screen readers, enlarged text, contrast, etc., etc. Please don't forget those.
Thank you. I omitted that from this list. One of the things that we purchased in our renewal with this vendor is the new accessibility tools that meet the current standards. So there is which you're probably aware of, in the bottom right corner, there's a circle that has that's the accessible, kind of the universal icon for that. That will pop up the box. It does all the things you're talking about, the contrast, the text size change, all of those various tools. So we were fine with what we had. It was compliant then. The tools that were on the current website aren't meeting the current compliance requirements. So the website will have that. I should have had that on the list. Thanks for bringing that up.
Excellent. Thank you.
The other one is really not much to do with us. Well, unless and until something bad happens. The Oregon wildfire maps, this is kind of version 2.0. The first version of the Oregon wildfire maps was met with a lot of statewide resistance, and it got pulled back and withdrawn. And so now they've redone it, changed some of the parameters, criteria, and also kind of cleared up how it's going to be utilized. That was a big statewide issue about what it was going to be used for. I just thought this screenshot, I had to go out a ways. You can kind of barely see the word Coburg there, but just to show that where green is the low, the blue is the moderate, or is it? Yeah. And then if you look at the very bottom where the McKinsey goes up, and you can see Walterville in the very bottom right corner. As you go any further east, you'll see stuff turn orange there. That's where it gets into the high hazard. So it shows that we're not in high hazard, but as we all know, we're not very far from where the action could be. So it's a really cool interactive map. If you go to that Oregon Explorer, you can scroll around, and it's not as granular as I think the first round, but if you dig in, it has some of the same attributes where they assessed areas. So just an FYI, nothing for us that we have to take action on. Then the rest of the document is the regular monthly stats and activity. Did want to call out a couple things on, we added a section for finance. Greg is providing some content for this, and the audit is nearing completion. We have some final things we're mildly frustrated, but we're working through them on finishing that off with the auditor. Should have been done by now, not city staff issue, more of an auditor issue. Again, we will dive into that more when it's done. But the big one I wanted to highlight is just today, actually, the payroll implementation that we've been working on for a long time. Greg finished going live for first payroll in our Springbrook system, not in our outsourced third party, went out today. So a lot of hard work from Greg on building that with Springbrook from scratch, putting all of our rate codes, even though we're small a number of people, it's still the same amount of work in all of the different tables that go into assembling payroll and handling that all in-house. A lot of efficiencies are going to come from that, and some trade-offs, some things that we have to do ourselves that we didn't before, but a lot more control. The data is integrated into our financial systems, and we have full control of that. And right after that, because we never can sit back and just be done. The employee self-service, which is the employee online portal that goes along with the payroll module, that'll be implemented here next month. And that gives then employees able to all of our timesheets will truly be electronic. All of the accruals will be available. Everybody's check stubs for the whole year, their W-2s, W-4s, all that stuff is accessible. They don't have to come and ask Greg, what do I have on the books? What's this? So modernization again on the payroll side, and all of that now in-house. So I was stoked that Greg got that out today and met our first due date and timeline, and now it's just smooth sailing, right?
I bet you weren't half as stoked as Mr. Peck.
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Peck is very stoked. Yeah, it's great work. It's been a lot of work. It's a lot of work to transition that, but I think it's a real good thing for us. One little piece that we threw in at the same time, we have an opportunity to work with a new company, people that I knew from work when I was doing software. We're testing an AI based backbone software that we're guinea pigging it for free. We're a perfect kind of a guinea pig size for this startup firm to kind of test and see if their systems do what they're hoping they do, which is living on top of any system, whether it's Springbrook, Munis, any of the financial systems, and being able to automate a lot of the data entry, the redundant work and accounts payable is the epitome of redundant work and data entry. So we're working with them to kind of build out the workflow and the models, and then linking that to the back end of our software to see how far we can get on the AI side of automating AP. Which would, again, the goal being to use technology to where we don't have to add more staff. We get to use our staff for better things than data entry. So excited to see where that goes. Absolutely no promises. We don't know how well it's going to work, but the good part is there's $0 invested, just some of our time to kind of see how this works.
No financial risk on that.
No,
at this point.
no, and I think it's going to end up being really cool. And let's see, I think that covers most of the stuff. Just wanted to highlight some of the new finance stuff.
Citizen inquiries, looks like 3 of those are still active.
Yeah, the one of those is we just won't be doing the pothole. We won't actually fix it. We've communicated with them. We won't be actually doing the pothole work until a little later this winter, late winter, early spring. And there's a few doozies out there, and we'll see what all we can get.
All those speed deterrents.
Yeah, they're mixed. They're a mixed blessings, right? Yeah, they have some positives to them.
Well, for me, when I hit it, I can catch air.
Yeah.
Gotta be careful with another way of looking
Yeah.
at it.
Free carnival ride, no ticket necessary.
Yeah. And maybe one other financial note, we just are finishing up, the payroll implementation got a little bit in the way of our normal timeline, but December financial reports will be out later this week. We'll be sharing those with the Finance Audit Committee next week, and they'll be in your packet for the February meeting, which that is the half year mark. So that is sort of the basis by where we start building and estimating the end of the year so we can start working on the budget forecasting for next. So
Budget's coming right up.
internally, we're going to start budget here and right after the retreat.
It's a cycle, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Any questions from council on anything that you've read or anything that you want further information on? Like our court is staying consistently busy, and looks like our police force is staying consistently busy. Again, that I-5 brings us lots of good things and some bad things too. Huh?
Yeah, full staffing in police, which is great. It's going really well.
And Officer Wilson is back.
Yes,
We're
we
really
have a
happy.
familiar face. Yes, Officer Wilson is back. It's great. Yeah,
That's
great
good.
addition or return.
That's good. Again, he had to try it out somewhere else, but decided that maybe Coburg was okay, huh?
Couldn't stay away.
It's a pretty nice place. Okay, council comments or liaison updates from any council members? Councilor Bowman?
I will share, and I'm delighted to say that I had a very productive meeting with the executive director of OTD, who happens to be my namesake. His name is also Jameson, but he spells it a different way. I had a very productive meeting with their route planner and their government relations person as well. They are committed to doing what they can to provide more service for the community. That said, in all honesty, it is likely to be a multi-phase process. But in the interim, I did ask him to find out why ride service does not provide service to Coburg. Because even if we can get that, and full bus service later on down the line, that would, I think, be a step in the right direction. He also said that he needs for us in local government to be more willing to advocate for ourselves and to advocate the case to the state and on up the chain why we feel we need the service, because if we don't help tell the story ourselves, it is less likely to happen and pretty much virtually impossible as I understand it. That being said, there are a couple of board positions that just opened up, so he'll send me the detail about that. I'm going to encourage anybody who wants to, especially the people in the audience, spread the word, or feel free to put your hand up, because we need more voices to go into the lion's den that is the state and the federal government, and we need as much armor as we can get, because it's not a pretty place. So that's what he needs from us. There was some discussion about coming out for part of a work session as well. My understanding is he was going to coordinate that with Mr. Hanks, and I'm sure I'll be kept in the loop. I am very excited to keep working on this issue, but this is a waltz and not a tango. It's going to be very slow.
He did reach out, he emailed today, so I just got that this afternoon, and the idea of at least a partial work session dedicated to that, I think is a great idea. So we'll work on how that fits within their schedule and our schedule, and have it match up best we can with other topics. And definitely, I think that's a great asset to connect with them. The mayor and I had an opportunity to connect with him right after he got here, I think, about a year and change ago. And a lot going on at LTD, a lot of stuff that they're working on, a lot of challenges and a lot of good things too. So I'm stoked you got connected with him.
He seems like a very responsive fellow.
Yeah, that's a great connection.
Immensely courteous too.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's really a good guy.
That's great.
Any liaison reports?
I feel like it's been forever since I've been at parks.
You just
So,
missed one, right?
yeah.
Just
So, not anything that comes to mind that's urgent, but Mr. Hanks is also there. So, and Mr. Beatty, I believe, is here.
Yes. Anything from Parks Committee that we need to know about? No.
And I did go to the Main Streets retreat today. So lots of progress, lots of good goal setting, and return of our community meetings are going to be on a quarterly basis, forming some committees for Christmas decorations and just, really looking at being accessible to the community as a whole, as well as to the businesses. So lots of exciting things coming up.
We're doing a Christmas in Coburg debrief with Megan tomorrow. We have it on the books, so we kind of recap it, debrief what could be better. Decorations up, down, install, storage, how'd the event go? Traffic, logistics, all those kind of things. We do a quick debrief, and that's tomorrow. So it's always stuff to kind of talk about and learn and figure out how we want to do them better and different.
Holiday season brings a lot of issues it's a fun season, but there is a lot of work behind the scenes again. It's not necessarily, it seems like it should be pretty easy. And for those of us that just participate, it's lovely, but yes, there are hours and hours and hours of work.
And we did spend time on that, and it's basically going to take a lot of community involvement as well to help.
Yep.
Decorations, committees, planning. So
Great.
that framework is somewhat in place after today.
Great.
Good.
That's excellent.
So I serve on the MPC. I don't know. I don't think there's been too much that's happened, has there?
More kind of state and federal list updates and project kind of reallocation of funds. Pretty dry. Yeah. Yeah.
It's the biggest topic of communication, and the Lane Act and the MPC, and working with ODOT, who is the state Department of Transportation, and then the federal funding comes in and then it goes out, and there's a lot of dry stuff, but nothing that was too major. I will say that as I was at an MPC meeting, I figured out that we actually had a representative to LTD, which I had not ever figured that out before. So that was an epiphany for me, saying, oh, really? Well, who is our representative if we have questions, as you mentioned, Mr. Councilor Bauman, about service, and why don't we have what I think we should have? And so that may be something, if we need to take it up to a state level, that we can work with our representatives about too.
We do have a LTD board member for the district as well, and he told me your name. I just can't recall off the top of my head.
Yeah, she attended the meeting that we had. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that was sort of, I had to ask. I had no idea that we had a representative. So, and she's listens very well too, but as you pointed out, it's a slow process. And again, a lot of it comes down to funding, and they'd like to do more than perhaps they have funding to do. We are a small community, but we are a community with needs and we are in close proximity. And so we think we need more. And we'll get there.
Just
Perseverance.
just an add-on to the Lions Den that Councilor Bowman mentioned. Mayor and I are participating in the League of Oregon Cities City Day at the Capitol. I just was checking to make sure what day it was. The 28th of January. So yeah, we've the morning is kind of a setup that League of Oregon Cities goes through, and it's kind of a pre-packaged or agenda stuff, and then the afternoon we can make appointments with our elected officials from both sides of both the rep and Senate, and we don't have those locked in yet, but we have met with I guess he was representative elect at the time we met with him,
Yes.
Harvick, and so we've kind of already made that connection, and we'll be meeting with him up there. He's brand new to the scene, and then our senator, we've inquired with their office and kind of have a tentative, hey, we're going to be there. We don't have a locked in time yet, but that'll be interesting, and advocating, making sure we're advocating to our representatives.
To the list.
Yeah, that's it.
I wish you well. I will buy you some bear mace. And you can go for
All right,
They're a
good.
little friendlier than that when you- They're pretty nice when we go up there.
it's after you leave.
Yeah, yeah.
Could be. Okay, one thing that will come up at the retreat is I want y'all to be thinking about what the liaison assignments.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll be working on those for the next year. Think about what you might want to spend time liaison with, and we'll do the liaison back to, so you go to those committee meetings or council meetings and then bring them back to council. But we maintain that clear flow of information between all of us. Okay, well, if nothing else, let's see, audit reports for the city and urban renewal agency are coming up. Criminal code ordinance will be coming back to us in February. Committee appointments, which is the liaison. And then the future meetings, again, busy time, January, February, Planning Commission. We do have Martin Luther King Day coming, and that's January 20th. City Hall will be closed. But then we have Park and Tree Committee, we have Finance Audit, we have Council Work Session, we have the Council Retreat, we have the Urban Renewal Agency meeting, and City Council again on February 11th. It just flies, doesn't it? My goodness. Okay, well, if nothing else, I will adjourn the meeting at 7:00.